So very good morning to everybody once again. So today we will be having our last session on this topic, the philosophy and ethics. So this is the last part. So this should be beginning part actually, but I rearranged as I said. Okay. Now in the philosophy, research and language. Today we are going to talk about the research language, and next part will be philosophy. Okay. So first, research language. Basically, it has a two components: writing plagiarism, uh, plagiarism-free writing. This part already we have talked about, and now the second part left towards the research language, language selection of the words and writing the articles. Okay, so this is the part we'll be talking about, and then in the second lecture I'll be talking about the philosophy part, and so last part actually already we have a talk about. So that's the. So let me straightforward go to the part. I think slides number 47. Okay. Okay, there we go. So there is a research language and selection of the word. It's a very important component of your research. Okay. So there are three basically part I'll talk about. Who is writing? Magna and BD. Okay. So first I'll talk about the language and then research language and followed by section called selection of the words. Okay. Now what language we use? Generally for a research purpose, we generally use the English language. That is. Now when you talk about the language, English is as a part as a language. So it's basically English is not a subject, although from childhood we learn the English as one of the subject called, okay, but it is a skill oriented language. Okay, so directly we don't say this is a kind of a subject, right? And this is a very essential all the time for communicating purpose. And when you talk about the research, then you think about the communicate as well as for understanding the subject. So these are two main things we use in English. Now there is a four component of this scale, English language. We already know listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Among them, the toughest component is the speaking and writing, right? Because we are not a English spoken country, and so we need to learn as a additional subject. So definitely it takes time. Initially, listening and reading might be a little bit easier, but when you want to speak loudly, properly, and also for writing, this is really challenging. You need to be expertise on that. Now, there is apart from this, there is some other components or aspects of this English as a language, the grammar, vocabulary, and punctuation. So these are the things we already know. So these are the things we use while spoken as well as writing, right? Now, when you talk about a research language, so that is a little bit you are using some language for the research purpose. Now, what is that one, right? And why we need that actually? Right? Why we do care about the research language? So research language is a little bit different from the other colloquial talking or other purpose we are using. So that what I will be talking in the next slides more details. But here just I am keeping the few components, key things to convey this message. Okay. So basically, it's need the English is a global academic language, right? So in academician use English, and that's what we all around the world and we say is a global academic language to communicate or to facilitate the international mobility of the young researcher. Okay. Also, English is being used as a international and academic journal. So many journals, most of the journals, right, written in English. Okay, And except few countries, they actually use their own language. Some German, some Chinese, some Japanese, and they use their own language to express their literature. And in India, we also most of the time using English, but some literature subject we use their local language, right? But eventually that has to be converted, and so that's what you need to be have a good expertise on that. Okay. And most of the research paper, if you talk about the research output, after finding your research, you put up in the right manuscript and submit it. And most of the time, even though you are getting a good result or a good output or a good thoughts of your work, but eventually it gets rejected because of the you are not properly writing. So it's not rejected due to lack of good writing skill in English language, as well as lack of appropriate word and vocabulary and sentence or the structure. So structure, it has to be properly structured, right? Then only it will get, because the message you want to convey, whatever you find out, if that is not properly put up, then nobody will find the importance of the work. And that's what your job is there, to become expert on that one, so that nobody can uh, reject it. Okay, so you have to take care of that. Now, what are the major features of the academic writing? So I'll be talking this part actually. Even let me take the pointer. Uh, this part I'll be talking in elaborate in 2 slides, but here I just put up in concise form. So academic writing take care of the following component. First of all, it has to be concise. It's a very straightforward and point to point. You have to. There is nothing you can elaborate or extra expression. You don't need that one, right? Third person should be avoided. We should cannot use those one, right? So first person, or we cannot generally you most of the article you read. So there you will not find any word the I have done or we have done, right? So in other way, this instead of active voice, you need to use the passive voice. So that is one factor. Section, your research output findings should be properly sectionized. For example, when you write any reports or dissemination or any manuscript. So first you write a abstract, then introduction, then your methodology, and then you go to the results, and then discussions, then conclusion. This is a well structure. And in that well structure inside there you put the proper way, organized way. For example, if you just the introduction part itself, then what you write in the introduction part? In the introduction part, you talk about what the research, the title of your manuscript. Based on that, you some first part you write first few lines. As a general audience should understand the things what you are going to projecting. What is your interest of the general interest, right? And then you gather the literature and tune them all the literature step by step in such a way, make a story to highlight your work, what you are going to do, why you want to do. Then before that, you have to put up the what literature has been done, what has been existing, right? So you do that part, what experiment has done. So what the so far has done, right? And then you put up, yeah, this is the objective, my work. And then what you are going to do. So any paper you read, you see the way I telling the things, it is there. Most of the well structured or good journal, you have to follow the good journal. You cannot follow the small impact factor journal or lower impact factor journal, localized journal. So they don't have a sometimes a structure. But if you follow international level journal, then these are the very.
Mujib,
Oh my God, who is this? Please mute your mic itself. Okay. Um, then unbiased. So if you are putting your result and or any discussion part you are or you whatever that you are claiming, so that has to be unbiased and provide a proper evidence. Either you're finding evidence or you give the supporting literature from the upon somebody else. And that's how we talk about the citation. You need to cite enough. As already previously we have many times talked about, In order to avoid the plagiarism, you have to cite and others' work or your own work previously done, that has to be cited properly. You have to use your language like a formal. It's not a colloquial language you cannot do. But as that at the same time, it should not be too fancy, right? So these are the few things you have to keep it in mind if you want to write a good article, okay, impactful article. Okay, so next is what are the natures of the academic English writing? So now here we talk about the academic English writing, right? So that should be quite different from the general purpose used, right? Okay, so that's different. So that's what you need to know the what is academic English, right? Now most of the time academic English is purposeful actually, purposely used. What is the purpose? Whatever research findings, that has to be written in such a way so that other can understand, other can read. So you want to convey the message of your research findings, or you want to understand the study material. Somebody has published article. You want to understand that, right? So that also you need a understanding. So that's what we say. Research academic English is the purposeful, right? While reading as well as understanding somebody's work. Yes, clear? Now, to use that one, so it has also the academic English also used to describe object what you are setting for the research project, and you want to explain the situation or the process. Okay, the methodology part you are describing what you have done. Okay, and what are the factor you have considered, what are the instrument you have used, whatever algorithm you are applying. So everything what you have done, you want to convey to somebody, and that time you need a very good English or very instead of colloquial, you use the a professional English, and it's a very easy language so that other can follow it, right? So whenever you read any manual, you see very easy language they use. They don't use very high level language. Okay, very complicated word. Okay, very easy way they try to that. So that's what these are the components where you need to take care while you are writing your research output. Okay, and also you need to have a articulated. When you are writing a sentence, it has to be properly articulated. It should be smooth enough, right? It should be brief enough. While you are briefing, you should not also avoid the key importance of your finding. So you have to be compromised with the both the things. You brief as well as your message is not missing. So that has to be. It has to be more accurate. Okay? So when you put up something, use your figures, use a table, and also you are writing in the text, elaborating that what is in that table. So in that time you have to be exact, and you have to be accurate so that the readers can understand easily. So by combining the figures and tables, layout or schematic or reaction scheme, so you have to be couple them to make it more convenient to others to understand this, right? Also, in academic writing English, what you have to do, you need to be a formal tone and style. So style I'll talk about actually one slides are there. A few points are there in one slide. So your tone, it has to be formal tone, and it has to be properly, there is a style. So I'll talk about a little bit later on. Okay. And avoid the colloquial. It's already talked about that. You have to avoid the colloquial. You have to avoid something idiomatics. You have to avoid the slangs, right? You should not use in the any slangs on the research article, right? Or journalistic expression, right? So you know the how journalists used to express their things, because they want to market their channel. Okay, sometimes they express overly. Okay, and that kind of thing should not be done in the academic writing English. So you have to be little bit careful. So these are the few natures of the academic writing English. Okay, so you have to keep it in mind those things. So, what is the use of, right? Then we talk about the what is the use of the English language in research. Um, Basically, um, uh, the researcher as a first time research when you start, then you have a little bit struggle period. And but later on, one or two paper you write or reports write, they think little bit slowly smoother actually, because you get to learn actually exact experience, uh, how it should be done, what should be done, what should not be done, right? So researcher, here we say a researcher should have a comment over the knowledge of English language, right? Because it requires to express the ideas, opinions, and hypotheses. Because any research you start with some hypothesis, do some literature, and give a proposal, and that means your idea generation you are doing, and then commenting what previously done. That means you putting up your opinion on the work or criticizing the work, and then you are putting your objective, what is that, right? Also, once you've done these steps and then do the research and find out some result, then you want to express it in terms of dissemination. Dissemination can be research article publication, your thesis, your report, or you are going to submit a RPC report every time. Okay, so during that period also you need a good knowledge about the English so that you can properly express it, right? So now among these skills, okay, these are the skills you have to acquire. Now, why they are so, because why they are so important? Because or what are the significance of that? Okay. So basically, this is here the few significance role, because to understand and make the most effective use of your study material. So initially, when you start gathering your literature, sometimes you don't have a knowledge on that topic. You want to understand the topic, and then you give a presentation to your supervisor and discuss about it, what is lack, what is the things. But you need to understand the basic language itself. You understand the, because different people write a different way. Some people write very complicated English. So you need to understand that one. So that's what you need to know the what English language used in the research. Also, to develop and specialize the language and vocabulary relevant to your subject. Okay, say sometime uh, as a basic science use they are one tone, one type, and engineering use the another types because they are technology developer, right? Management or other literature subject will be different. So these are the various sectors, and according to the different sector and subject, you have to apply the you have to develop the specialized language vocabulary so that you can write it smoothly. Well structure. Write the well structure and coherently present the assignments without plagiarism. Sometime, as we already talked about the plagiarism, when you are writing, although you are taking some piece of lines from somewhere, but at the end you have to modify it, and modified in such a way significantly so that it should not be fall under plagiarism, right? So in that case, you have to, there are many key points we already discussed so that you can rewrite them and structure them properly, and eventually you make it as your own things, right? And that's what you need the expertise of the English language in the research. So that's all. Okay. Communication. So for communication also you need your work productively. Okay. So communication you need because you want to show your productivity and with other students or other researcher. Okay. With your supervisor or friends. Okay. So whomever you want to communicate regarding the research output. So you need that the skill, right? Now, little bit elaborate. Already we have given there about 6 or 7 points about the features of the academic writing, and that time I told we have to be later on will be discuss more in details. Now that's the time now comes to discuss on that in details. Now, what are the features of the academic writing English? So, the what are the key features, right? Now, first feature is like a complexity. Although he said it has to be very simple language, right? Language should be simple, right? But your grammatical complexity will be little bit there, right? That's what we say here. Language has more grammatical complexity and more passives, right? So here basically two things you keep it in mind. As we said already, you cannot use I or we. You have to be always in the active to passive mode, right? And second thing is that you have to use a vocabulary and as well as your phrases should be noun based, not the verb based. So these are the two things you have to keep in mind. Formality. Now, academic writing is relatively formal, right? You don't use the colloquial way to express your research output. Precision, as we said already, you have to use the figures and tables, and precisely you have to tell, right? So you have to make it the precision level or accuracy level has to be very useful, right? Objectivity, right? Writing English is in general objective rather than personal, right? So because all the time you use the English as a research English as a purpose. To purpose. So what is the purpose? Convey the message, what you find out in the easy way to other readers, right? And that is the purpose. So in order to fulfill that purpose, so you set the objective and you have to write in the objective manner, right? And so this basically the objective rather than personal. This basically means that the main emphasis should be information rather than you want to give an arguments you want to make. Okay, so you have a emphasize on the providing the information. Okay, so not the argument you want to make it. Of course, you will be doing the argument on the research finding, bring him the somebody's outputs, or you argue on whatever the findings you have. But whatever the arguments you are doing, that is in the informative mode, not in the argumenting mode. So you sometimes you don't push your findings and boost it. Oh no, this is the one, and this is the last one, or nobody has done. I have done this, and then not like a commenting way. It is polite way. You have to be express it. So now, for that reason, what you have to do, the academic writings tends to be used in a noun. So that's what we already pointed over here. It has to be noun rather than verb-based phrases, right? Explicitness. Now, academic writing is explicit about relationships in the text. What does it mean actually? It basically indicating that. So when you are writing one component, whether you are writing the introduction part or whether you're writing the your methods, your experiment you are using, okay, so that has to be a fine tuning from one section to another section. So you finish one section, give a connectivity. So even you are a first time presenter also, we train the student also. You have to be from one point to another point, and one slide to another slide. So you are jumping, then you have to make a connectivity on that, right? A similar fashion in the while you're writing in the research as article manuscript for the article. So that time also you have to take care of the one paragraph to another paragraph. There should be a synchronization, right? One section to another section, that is already structured, that already told. Introduction, then methods, and then your results, and then discussion, then your conclusion. So these are the structured part. But inside the structure also, again, there is a several components, sub component. During that period, you have to connect very clearly to the readers from one part to another part. So you have to correlate the what. Sixth point is the accuracy. Already we talk about the accuracy. So here accuracy in the sense is that you have to take a very fine tuning language. There should be a very different clear difference between the the word you are using. For example, here it is a phonetics and phonemics. So they are very clearly differently. So general English, when they are using, they don't care about this kind of the slight difference or whatever the things you are telling. But when you are talking about the academic writing, then you have to be very clear. Head gains, you should not force it something, right? You are necessary. You make your own decision. This means head gain means you are deciding what kind of word or whatever the strength or whatever the claim you want to do. So that has to be very person to person, that depends. Okay, so you have to keep it right. Responsibility, you have to take a responsibility what you are writing, right? You have to justify them. You have whatever the claim you are doing, you have to give a backup data or literature support, right? So so academic writing, English writing should be this like a research, so there should be responsibility, you should take care about it. Organized, well organized, you already talked. Planning, you have to plan properly. You to the sector I told already, the abstract, introduction, and then you have to properly plan. And then inside what you are going to put up, you have to pre-plan it, and accordingly you have to do the things. Either research you have to do or literature you have to do, so that you can plan and complete it. Now, here are the few characteristics. It's almost already some of the things already talked about. Is the few characteristics in the sense what you talk about. The academic writing should be considered writing of the high quality with intent of the publication in the journal referred by the peers, right? So as we said, journal most of the time rejected because you were not able to write properly. So some of the points already we talk about. So instead of elaborating this, I will instead further go to the next slide. Next component called selection of the word, right? Now, selection of the words means you think about the diction and style of academic writing. So there are many components of this and the of the diction itself, right? The type, this could be formal, colloquial, abstract, poetic, concrete, slangs, and pedantic, right? So these are the few types of the diction. Now, what diction means actually? So diction is the author's words, word choice in writing. So you see, person to person actually, the writing style actually sometimes very clear way, right? We scientists, we don't follow somebody else. We may follow the structure or other things, but we generally don't borrow. Individual person has their individual way to express the things. So that's what the writing pattern from one group to another group differ, right? So that's the main point. So author choice. So diction means word that has been chosen by the authors. Okay, all writing has a purpose. Already talked about it in the previous component research language. Okay, it has to be diction should be coincide with the purpose, right? Yeah, because we already talked about the purpose. Scholarly or the academic writing. So that is a goal to convey the information and the idea clearly and precisely, using proper vocabulary and basic concept in the particular field. So that's what you need to proper choice of word is a very important component of that. Now, what are the diction should be used in the academic writing, right? Is a very be precise and necessary, right? Is a very precise, as a precise, because already give some example in the previous case there that over two words should be not be should be consider even there is a minor difference, but general language they when you talk about generally, but you don't consider them. So here, like for example, use of the compensation instead of salary, right? So this kind of things, preciseness use. Be simple and clear, right? So you should not use something like elevated, uh, don't use like elevated language, thus, therefore, here, heretofore, but thus generally we use in the language, right? Also, avoid colloquialism slangs already talked about in the previous section. Express your opinion, but not prejudice, there, right? So you express your opinion, what results you are finding, but should not. Also, you cannot use like a word like wow, yeah. The general talking you may use like this. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's good work, right? You are express yourself, right? So so this kind of words should not be used in the in your writing. Okay, so you keep this. Also, never talk down to your readers. That means when you are writing something, you should not underestimate your readers. Readers, you have to convey your message so that your writing should be in such a way you should not underestimate them. So that's what is talk down. You should not talk down your research. You write in simply standard, like maintain your standard. It has also academic writing English is the words should be in such a way that makes something sentence looks like a sophisticated, right? Your thought is like a express very way, your research finding express in proper way, right? Writing style, the style, what basically we talk about the style, that is something own actually. Each individual researchers actually have a own style. So style influence the reader's impressions and information itself. So if you have no properly using your style, then you are not going to, even if you are published, that will not attract the readers actually. So or other research group. Okay, so your proper style should be maintained. So that style also include diction and tone. Tone also has to be there proper as a research tone, right? So all of these things actually, these are the few tips are given. This has to be keep it in mind, but it is not a rigid rule actually. Okay, that's what I have written here on conclusion type. Remember to take these as a guidance, but not rigid rules, and use your judgment about what works and what does not work. So you use your according to your area research area. You know better than anybody else. So use that accordingly so that it will be and writing should be proper. So time actually